Chapter 1. An email shatters the calm. I was behind the wheel of my old pickup, watching the thin veil of dawn mist settle on the windshield as Spokane began to wake. I opened my email app on the phone and saw the subject line, Petition for Dissolution of Marriage, with a PDF attached. It was March 2022. The final chill of late winter still lingered. I wore my thick wool jacket and had a cup of black coffee resting in the cup holder. The moment I read the subject, I froze. My wife had filed for divorce, signed yesterday. I was on my way to a private security training, gig leveraging my military skills, and she was at home? Why email? The petition bore the county superior court seal. The process was already underway. I braked hard, pulled to the side. On screen, notice of hearing for temporary orders. Internally, I recognized she'd been planning this, likely retained counsel. But training from the battlefield told me, remain calm, gather data, don't let emotion take the wheel. I closed my eyes for a moment. No shouting, no destruction. Everything must follow procedure. First thoughts flickered. Our marital estate house in Midtown Spokane, purchased in 2016 with my savings before my deployment. Our joint savings and modest investment accounts. The truck I kept after leaving the service. Mementos tied to veteran circles. I needed to examine the petition. I restarted the engine, opened the PDF, read each clause. Community property per Washington law. The temporary order section showed she asked I vacate the house immediately, sought temporary spousal maintenance, and sole control of joint accounts until further order. I was cornered, lose shelter, risk income if I didn't act fast. But the training drilled in me, breathe slow. I marked details. Filing date, hearing date, in about a month, temporary requests, opposing counsel's name. I screenshot, logged everything in a notebook. Timestamps, file names, digital signatures. I thought, I'll fight this with law, with calculation. The coffee cooled in its cup. I noticed pedestrians hustling by in heavy coats. Spokane River ran muted brown under the bridge after snowmelt. I closed the app, opened my banking app, checked joint account balance, only a few thousand left. I quietly transferred a small portion into a personal account I'd opened after returning from overseas under my name alone. Transfers were incremental, innocuous in description. I told myself, don't let them catch it immediately. I texted a former comrade of me security gig, linked me with some ex-Marine contacts, but kept it terse. Need a WA family law attorney referral. Soon. No details beyond that. I drive to a rented place near my security post, avoiding the main house for now, maintaining distance but keeping a line open. My phone was on silent. I knew she had likely prepared for this. I needed to be one step ahead. Chapter 2. Flashback, the promise that began. I retrieved an old storage box, pulling out handwritten letters, faded photos. 2014, just back from deployment. She appeared at a veteran meetup in a riverside cafe. I recall that cafe corner, warm wood-paneled walls, soft yellow light, the aroma of toasted bread. That day, I sat quietly, staring at my phone. She lit a cigarette and asked, "You were in Afghanistan?" I nodded, eyes drifting to the window. Our conversation stretched into talks about the futility of war, yearning for peace, future plans. Her name was Emily, employed by a veteran support nonprofit, passionate but carrying a quiet loneliness. I often avoided social chatter. She persisted, inviting me to volunteer group meetings. Over time, we got close in silence. Afternoons, fishing by the Spokane River, grilling outdoors, taking turns, speaking sparsely about opening a small business, or simply living in peace. I recall the first time I said, "I want to marry you." I returned from Kabul. By a campfire in late autumn, red leaves drifting down, I looked into her eyes with dry sincerity. "If you agree, I want you as my wife." She paused, then nodded. "Are you okay?" I managed a stiff grin. "I'm okay when I'm with you." That memory stays like a still frameworm at first, then edges of crack forming. Early years of marriage, pooling debts, rare laughter, plans to buy a house. I used deployment savings. She used veterans benefits for the down payment. We picked a suburban Spokane home, affordable, near veteran services, convenient commute. I did security contracts. She worked office hours at the nonprofit. Both of us sacrificed. I patrolled nights. She toiled by day. I remember that house, slate blue walls, dark hardwood floors, east-facing windows overlooking the pines. Each morning I brewed coffee, watched dawn light slice through blinds, then drove off to post. I believed life would settle, but life never follows plans. Chapter 3. Early signs. At first, cracks were subtle. Joint account balances sometimes dipped by a few dozen dollars unexpectedly. I noticed, but assumed routine fees or ordinary spending. She'd say, "I fronted some small costs. I'll settle later." I didn't pry trust, was automatic. But occasionally I got bank alerts about unusual transactions. Once a transfer to an unfamiliar account labeled maintenance fee, not matching any service I recognized. I asked, "What is that?" She replied curtly, "Project expense for the nonprofit." I handled it. My rational mind flagged, "Monitor closely." I started logging expenditures, privately exporting CSVs, screenshots, but hid this ledger from her. She also stopped attending veteran meetups we used to go to together, citing vague work demands. Before, we'd attend side by side, sharing insights with fellow vets. Now she came home late with opaque excuses. I shrugged at first, chalking it up to project deadlines. But the soldier's gut warned, "Something's off." I told myself, "Observe, don't confront prematurely." Confrontation without proof would lose leverage. Daily routine persisted. 5 a.m. runs around the lake, protein shake, check security emails. Underneath, tension simmered beyond conscious awareness. I upped workout starter routines, but unsure if it was for fitness or to channel stress. In the dim gym light, the hum of treadmills, the smell of sweat, discipline of service repeating itself, stay sharp, don't let personal turmoil break focus. Chapter 4, Silent Evidence Gathering. I began building a monitoring system, not spying on her personally, but tracking data. Every joint expenditure got flagged. I set email alerts for any account movement, wrote a simple offline script to archive notifications. When she used the joint card, I noted patterns, household bills, minor car repairs, utilities. If something deviated, I screenshot and backed up to an encrypted drive. I also opened a new personal bank account, segregating emergency funds. I left just enough in the joint account to cover utilities, mortgage, property tax. I contacted the bank about temporarily restricting unusual auto transactions. They recommended enabling two-factor alerts tied solely to my contact. I changed the shared email password in a subtle way. She could still log in, but each login required secondary verification I controlled, letting me see when she accessed it. I told the bank, I want fraud protection on joint account. They set up low-cost monitoring and alerts. Privately, I hired a licensed investigator, verify the property title history, check for any new liens or mortgages. Under Washington law, any new deed or trust on our house must be recorded with Spokane County Auditor's Office. The investigator would check public records weekly and alert me to any filings. They explained, if any list pendants or title changes appear, we get notice immediately. I enabled official county notifications, email alerts whenever title changes occur. I also secured my surroundings. Had previously installed a security camera by the driveway to protect the truck. I added a small indoor camera in the hallway to record her comings and goings. Each recording encrypted, stored offsite. I didn't watch constantly, only kept footage for potential review. I maintained disciplined self-care. Home-cooked meals for broth simmered long, a squeeze of lime, fresh herbs-balanced diet, consistent sleep schedule, lights out 11 p.m., up at 5 a.m., a fit body, sharp mind, prepared for next phase. Chapter 5, The Major Shock. One morning in early April, I got an automated email from Spokane County Auditor, a change in the property title record. I opened the attached PDF, a new deed of trust for 150-0, borrower listed as Emily Turner, purpose home renovation, interest rate high, but amount far beyond plausible minor repairs. I knew, if unpaid, lender could initiate foreclosure, yet I never consented. I'd heard no talk of major renovation. Moreover, signature looked suspect. Comparing against my records of our original purchase documents, the signature pressure and slant differed. My suspicion, forgery. I opened my ledger. The last time she mentioned repairs, it was just a leaky faucet costing a few $100s. Immediately, I asked the investigator to perform a handwriting analysis, compare signature on new deed to her genuine signature on earlier documents. Simultaneously, I contacted the lending institution. Could this transaction be voided if proven fraudulent? They said, a court order or formal fraud investigation is necessary. I also reached out to Spokane County Recorder's Office, asked how to place a hold on any action and how to lift it later when fraud proven. At this stage, it was simply a new deed of trust, not yet a list pendants. I informed my divorce attorney. Suspected forged mortgage. Need emergency petition to freeze property actions and initiate forgery investigation. The attorney confirmed, under Washington law, forging signatures on deeds is criminal, identity theft, fraud. We'd file police and possibly FBI reports if bank fraud implicated. I agreed. That night, I stood in the cold wind, phone buzzing with the investigator's preliminary note. Signature appears inconsistent. I drank water slowly, reminding myself. Handle by procedure. I emailed my attorney summarizing. Attached scanned deed of trust. Screenshots of bank alerts. Preliminary investigator note. He scheduled a call. We'll file an emergency motion to freeze the property, stop foreclosure or sale, and pursue criminal charges for forgery. I felt tension in my chest, but remained controlled. My body was like a taut bowstring. Ready to release strategic force me weapon would be data, law, calm calculation, not violence. Chapter 6. Planning the Counterstrike. Legal planning commenced. My attorney, experienced in family law and asset fraud cases, drafted petitions for temporary restraining order, TRO, and temporary family law orders. Bar Emily from any asset transfers, prevent mortgage actions, require her court appearance to explain the purported loan, and push for expedited review of that mortgage claim. To file with Spokane County Superior Court, we assembled affidavits. My sworn statement denying I authorized or signed anything, the investigator's report on suspected forgery, request for expert forensic handwriting analysis. I participated in interviewing the handwriting expert, submitting samples, photos of original signatures. Expert would compare pen pressure, slant, stroke patterns. I also collected info about any accomplices. The investigator noted Emily communicated with someone named Mark, unclear identity, possibly directing this scheme. I relayed to my attorney, perhaps involve further investigation into Mark, or involve FBI to probe a broader network. My attorney advised, file police report in Spokane for forgery and threaten foreclosure. And because bank fraud often crosses state lines, consider FBI involvement. I signed authorization for my attorney to liaise with FBI's Seattle field office. Meanwhile, I kept preparations hidden. All communications with attorney on secure channel, documents stored encrypted. I protected devices, VPN for any legal research, avoid revealing my home IP address. I also arranged my personal finances, applied for a small personal line of credit to cover living expenses temporarily, renting a modest apartment near Spokane City Center, close enough to my security job to minimize travel cost. I kept the daily routine, 5 a.m., wake up, workouts, black coffee, oatmeal, and eggs maintaining mental clarity. Each night, at least an hour reviewing files, jotting down developments, anticipating possible defenses. Emily might deny outright or produce falsified consent evidence. I drafted potential responses. I did not sign any documents regarding this loan. The signature is forged. I prepared witness outreach. Friends who might confirm Emily never mentioned a major renovation loan. Colleagues of hers who could attest she never discussed such a sum. I discreetly contacted a few former associates at her nonprofit. Have you ever heard Emily discuss a large-scale renovation loan? Gathering statements, if any, to support my case. Concurrently, I studied Washington statutes on divorce, community property, foreclosure, forgery. I'm not an attorney, but public resources outline. Forging spouse signature to mortgage jointly owned property is criminal. Foreclosure cannot proceed when a restraining motion is in place. I took notes with dates and code references for my understanding, though in narration I might not recite exact RC numbers, but internally I know the framework. I prepared mentally for an emergency hearing, in person or via Zoom. I set up the temporary apartment to be orderly and neutrino. Signs of agitation should appear if someone visits. I met a few veteran friends to share general support, going through personal issues. Appreciate your perspective. They didn't interfere, but offered moral backing. Stand firm. Chapter 7. Indirect Confrontation. The temporary hearing took place over Zoom. I sat in the rented unit, dim light accentuating my calm face. Emily appeared on screen with a composed posture but eyes flickering as she saw me. My attorney presented preliminary evidence of forged signature on deed of trust, requesting immediate injunction against mortgage actions and restricting Emily's movements within Spokane until investigation concludes. The judge asked, "Do you have an expert handwriting report?" My lawyer. Preliminary report filed. The judge ordered, freeze on any foreclosure or sale, require Emily to produce any documents relating to that loan within 10 days, and direct law enforcement to investigate criminal forgery. I inhaled steadily, expression unreadable. Emily stayed silent. After the hearing, I sensed her panic caught in subtle tremor in her eyes, but I sent no message. I let due process unfold. I continued passive monitoring, reviewing security camera footage I'd captured of Emily meeting Mark at a discreet cafe. They met midday, few people around. I couldn't hear audio, but the image of exchanged documents suggested coordination. I forwarded those clips to FBI along with preliminary analysis. They responded, "We are reviewing. If federal elements appear, we may open a case." I exhaled. Official investigative machinery engaged. I avoided direct confrontation with Emily. Instead, I collected more evidence, digging through email history for mentions of loans, comparing vague texts. She once asked, "Can we raise our credit limit?" without specifying purpose. I matched that to the mortgage scheme. Perhaps she concealed a personal project. I refrained from emotional reactions, focused on neutral fact-finding. I also anticipated potential countersuit tactics. She could allege I was unstable or abusive due to PTSD. To preempt that, I scheduled a confidential wellness check with my mental health provider, documented normal assessment, so if needed, I could demonstrate fitness to the court. All discreet. I didn't broadcast this step. Everyday details, Eggs sunny side up with greens and coffee each morning, tidying the apartment, running around Riverfront Park, noting passing faces but no interaction. Afternoons, discussions with my attorney about next legal filings. Evenings, security shifts at work, checking cameras, logging incidents, maintaining professional composure. Inwardly, priority list, mental resilience, asset protection, evidence gathering, cooperating with investigators. I revealed nothing to Emily. All moves were indirect. Chapter 8. Exposing each accomplice. Weeks passed. The forensic report confirmed. Emily's signature on the deed of trust was not genuine. Differences in stroke pressure, slant, formation. I forwarded the final report to attorney and FBI. FBI found suspicious money flows, $150,000 routed through multiple shell accounts, signs of money laundering. They expanded the probe into Mark and possible co-conspirators, tracing account trails, emails, IP logs. I remained a witness, not intervening beyond providing evidence. I discovered Emily colluded with a local bank employee to bypass normal loan procedures. That employee expedited approval without verifying co-borrower's consent. I had email exchanges saved from security camera captures of her screen, correspondence between Emily and that banker. To confirm authenticity, I asked the investigator to verify email headers for possible spoofing. If genuine, that banker could face administrative or criminal charges. I provided these findings to investigators, hastening bank cooperation. I maintained moral neutrality, pursuing justice, not vendetta. I also monitored Emily's patterns via the footage. Occasional laptop meetings with unknown individuals. I stayed within legally permissible bounds, relying on public or investigator-collected information. Occasionally, memories of our early love surfaced, but I silenced them. No room for sentiment, focused on protecting shared property. I covertly approached former colleagues of Emily, presenting myself as someone representing a creditor to ask if they'd heard talk of a large fundraising or renovation loan. Their statements, untainted by knowledge of my identity, added context to her motives. All evidence pointed to Emily misusing charitable pretense to facilitate a large fraudulent loan secured on jointly owned home. While waiting formal charges, I prepared for the divorce trial, drafting documents listing Emily's misconduct, requesting the court to adjust property division based on fraud loss. Under Washington community property, courts can allocate losses to the wrongdoer's share. I worked with my attorney assembling exhibits, financial logs, affidavit summaries, witness list. I mentally rehearsed court responses, measured, factual. Nights remained disciplined, sleep early to stay sharp. Chapter 9. Climax, FBI Raid and Court. One morning in May, FBI agents executed search warrants at Emily's residence and the implicated bank office. I was summoned as a witness, supplied camera footage, emails, forensic reports. In preliminary questioning, I wore a plain suit, face impassive. During FBI interrogation of Emily, I learned she faltered under questioning. I wasn't present, but later confirmed via attorney. Evidence of forged documents, shell accounts, potential money laundering network. The FBI arrested Mark and the bank employee. They kept my identity confidential publicly. Simultaneously, the family law hearing proceeded in Spokane County Superior Court. My attorney presented Emily's fraud scheme, forged signature, risking foreclosure. I spoke calmly. I am not here for physical revenge. I asked the court to protect the rightful share of marital property and hold her responsible for losses. The judge reviewed handwriting reports, confidential FBI summaries, redacted details, and asked Emily, "Do you have any proof this loan benefited the marital estate? Did you inform your spouse?" Her defense stumbled. "I thought it would help. I didn't realize." The judge pressed, "Any documentation of joint consideration or consent?" She was silent. The judge's interim ruling, freeze on home sale in my favor until resolution of loan fraud, Emily to reimburse losses, remaining assets split after deduction. The court would finalize once criminal case concluded. I sat impassive, neither elated nor resentful felt. The weight of a battle ended through justice rather than violence. That evening, alone in my temporary apartment under muted lamplight, I ate warm chicken soup, listened to rain tapping against the window. Emotion, sadness for what was lost, satisfaction at a wise victory, emptiness in freedom regained. Chapter 10. Resolution and a new beginning. The criminal proceedings concluded. Mark and the banker convicted. Emily faced charges as accessory if evidence proved complicity. I did not seek her incarceration beyond cooperating as witness. My aim was to restore honor and assets. Reports indicated she cooperated, perhaps received probation and heavy fines, including restitution to me for legal fees and fraudulent loan amount. My role limited to testimony. During her hearing, I appeared briefly, offered factual account, voice steady. I observed remorse in her eyes but remained unmoved. Soldier's ethos demanded dignity. After criminal case closed, the civil divorce was finalized. Property division ordered sale of the house, proceeds divided with my share adjusted to account for restitution. I decided not to keep the old home too many memories. I arranged sale via a property management firm while planning my exit. Eventually, I'd buy a smaller place, perhaps in a quieter area outside Spokane. On the day I handed over keys, I dressed simply, looked at the slate blue walls once more, the hardwood floors that held so many silent moments. I felt no bitterness, only a quiet closing of a chapter. Driving away down a forested road, pine scent on the air, I paused by the roadside to breathe deeply, watching sunset glow through tree branches. I thought, life continues. Chapter 11. Quiet and Freedom. My new life unfolded step by step. I purchased a modest home on a hillside near a small lake somewhere I used to fish in younger days. No one knew my detailed past. They only saw a veteran working security. I set up a simple security system, lived quietly. Each morning, I walked the trails around the lake, brewed coffee on a compact machine, watched ripples on the water, light workouts, reading military history, honing survival skills. Occasionally, I journaled, never for publication, but to keep the mind clear. I joined veteran groups again, sharing general advice without mentioning personal saga, guiding newcomers on balancing emotions post-service. Those sessions grounded me. I maintained mental health check-ins, not because I was unstable, but to sustain equilibrium long-term. Nights I heard wind-rustling pine needles. I remembered the Spokane rain that morning I discovered divorce papers, but I felt no regret, only acceptance, the lesson about trust and self-protection. I wasn't tethered by painful memories. I'd handled it with logic, law, intellect, not violence. That was the greater victory, triumph over self, preserving the veteran's honor. I didn't rush into another relationship. I gave myself time. Perhaps someday I'd meet someone new, but now I focused on living for myself, genuine freedom. This small house and the quiet lake gave me peace. I occasionally posted anonymized pieces on a private blog about the veteran experience after betrayal, sharing the importance of legal literacy, financial vigilance, calm resolve. Some posts circulated in veteran Reddit communities. Readers admired the measured approach, yet felt the underlying sorrow. I read comments quietly, never responding personally. Content that the lessons helped others. Once I met a volunteer from a veteran support group by chance. She asked if I'd been involved in a high-profile divorce case. I only smiled faintly. Old news. She sensed something behind my steady eyes. I said simply, "What matters is what we learn and how we move forward." A short loaded line. I turned and walked into the pine shadow, footprints on the forest path. The ending isn't a grand celebration, but the stillness after the storm. I reclaimed my honor by not letting emotion drive me, using the law and intellect to reverse the scheme. I upheld a veteran's values: rationality, discretion, honor. Life's next chapter: freedom and tranquility, but not loneliness. I had myself and the veteran community who understood. When the reader finishes, they feel sorrow for the broken bond, satisfaction at justice served wisely, and inspiration to share a story of intellect and calm prevailing over chaos. In a post-pandemic world where trust fractures easily, reason and strategy remain the strongest weapons.